In this lesson, you will learn how to multiply radical expressions. When you are adding and subtracting, you have to worry about like terms, not when you're multiplying. So the steps in multiplying, first you multiply, then you combine like terms. But how do you multiply? Multiply what's under the root together and what's outside of the root together. The root does need to be the same, which will be typical in all of these. At this level, you shouldn't see a square root being multiplied by a cube root. All right, let's do some examples so you can see what I mean. Number one, this is distributive property because I see parentheses. So I need to multiply these two first. Okay, these are both square roots. Keep your square root and multiply 7 times 5 is 35. Plus, do the same thing here. Square root of 7 times square root of 3. Multiply those to get 21. If you could simplify these, you would, but I know you can't because this is just 7 times 5, 7 times 3, and you can't get pairs out of that. Number two, remember when you have a binomial, which is 2 times squared, you need to write it out twice. Okay, now we're going to use the FOIL method, or what you're doing is distribute the square root of 5 here first, then you're going to distribute the negative 2 square root of 2. So square root of 5 times square root of 5, that is the square root of 25. Square root of 5 times square root of 2 is minus square root of 10. Same thing here, that's minus square root of 10. And then square root of negative 2 times a negative is a positive. Square root times square root is square root of 4. Now simplify by combining like terms and combining and working out any square root you see. Square root of 25 is 5. These two can be combined and they do not cancel because they're both negative. So this is like saying negative 1 minus 1, which is a negative 2 square root of 10. Square root of 4 is 2. Now I can add 5 and 2. They both don't have roots, so you get 7 and then bring this down, minus 2 square root of 10. If I could simplify the square root of 10, I would, but that's as far as I can go. By the way, I want to show you something. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is just 5. When you have the same thing you're multiplying, this is a little shortcut. Those will cancel to get 5. If you don't see that, do it the long way. This is square root of 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Just a side note. Okay, here I'm going to distribute it as well. So multiply these. Keep your square root. 5y times y is 5y squared. 5y times square root of 5 is square root of 25y. Now you would simplify what you can. I can't break down square root of 5, so that's going to stay inside. But 2 divided by 2 is 1, so the y comes out. Square root of 25 is 5. I don't have enough to simplify this. I just have 1y, so that's going to stay inside. These are not like terms. Remember that you can't combine this. This has to be a 5 and a 5 or a y and a y. So that's as far as I can go. Okay, number 4, we're going to go ahead and distribute that. Okay, multiply the numbers outside. 8 times 4 is 32. Keep the square root, multiply what's under the square root. Y times y is y squared. By the way, that y would, you see how we have square root of y times square root of y? That will end up being just y. It's just a side note, but I'll do this the long way because I don't think a lot of people will see that. Next, multiply 8 square root of y times a negative 1, okay? The 1 does not have a square root, so you just multiply by what's outside. So 8 times negative 1 is negative 8, but I still have to bring that square root of y down. Next, I'll multiply these. The z is outside, so z gets multiplied with 4. That's a plus 4z, and then keep that y inside. And then finally, I have z times negative 1. That's negative z. Okay, what can we simplify? 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's just twice. Or you could say a squared and a square root cancel out. Do I have like terms? I don't, because this one has a z, the 8 does not. Even though this is the same, I can't combine a 4z and a negative 8, so you just bring those down, and I can't simplify that farther. And then just bring your z. I can't combine this z with that because it doesn't have a square root. That's as far as I can go. All right, number 5 is these are cube roots, same concept though. Cube root of a times the cube root of a will not cancel. You need at least 3 for them to cancel. That's cube root of a squared. Cube root of a times 7. The 7 comes in the front, so plus 7 cube root of a. Here, don't get confused and multiply 2 times 3. Remember, that's a root. So just put it together, plus 2 cube root of a, because the 2 does not have a root. And then 2 times 7 is 14. What can I combine now? I can combine that. So drop this down. 7 plus 2 is 9. Then keep your cube root of a. And then bring this 14. That's all I can combine. These are cube roots, but this one's an a and this one's an a squared. Those are not the same. All right, last one. Multiply this times that. The 2 stays out. Square root of 7 times square root of 7, square root of 49. Then multiply these. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And multiply what's under your square root. 7 times 5 is 35. Then now I have this. Add your 3, square root of 35. Again, because 7 times 5. And then a positive times a negative is a negative. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Multiply what's under your square root. That's square root of 25. So step by step, treat them one at a time and you'll be able to get through these. Now again, one at a time. What can I simplify? Square root of 49 is 7. So that's 2 times 7. Can I simplify the square root of 35? I cannot, because that's just 7 and 5. But I have like terms. Negative 4 plus 3 is a negative 1. But remember, you don't write a negative 1. So just make it negative square root of 35. Square root of 25 is 5. Okay, 2 times 7 is 14 minus square root of 35 minus 6 times 5 is 30. Your final step is to look for those like terms again. So I see 14 minus 30. You can combine those here to get a negative 16 and then drop that down. So again, go step by step, one at a time. Multiply what's outside together, what's inside together. Then look for what you can simplify.